Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Guess who's back? Back again. Hello, my name is 12 Gauge. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. I hope that you find something that keeps you coming back here, something that intrigues your mental capacity. And if you haven't been here before, welcome. Keep coming back. I'm sure you'll enjoy the content. What I was saying before I realized I was muted was I wasn't going to do another video today because I kind of got too relaxed earlier and I'm a little sunburnt, but I started reading on this and I even watched an old video that I had made on this topic. It didn't get as many views, but I think this has the capacity to be reinvented in something that gives individuals the ability to understand what voyeurism is and how it can lead to stalking and eventually lead to serial killers. And I even have 53 serial stalkers that became killers that I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about all 53 because I don't want to go that long tonight, but hopefully we'll get through some of them. And any new people in the chat, let's see. Rebecca Bruce, how you doing? How you doing from North Carolina? You said you're a nurse from North Carolina. Thank you for your service. Rondi, you're here. Aquarius, PKC, Paula, and anybody else that I'm missing. I don't see anybody else at the moment. So, we're not really going to talk about a case tonight, but you can address this to any case you want to. So, I'm not going to talk about cases that Carla's in the chat. Carla's in the chat. Welcome, Carla. Um, you can address this topic to any cases that we've been talking about on this channel, anything that we've talked about, and just kind of get the information that gives you the understanding of what a voyeur is. And if you have any young prepubescent boys or girls and they start exhibiting this type of behavior, you can know exactly what to look for. Not saying that they're all going to turn out to be serial killers, but it can give you an insight on a behavior that could or could not be potentially harmful in the future. So, let me go ahead and get going here and start the program. And I'm going to be doing some reading, so I hope that you guys follow along with what I'm talking about. Okay, let me put myself down at the bottom here. Can y'all see that okay? Okay, it says, let me make this a little bigger. Okay, it says, beyond looking when voyeurism leads to criminal behavior. And in some of the cases that you follow, um, voyeurism is often talked about. It's often talked about because it is a behavior that is maladaptive to normal living. And that basically means that whenever something starts out kind of small, they usually call that acute in the medical field. I'm not a medical field person, but I've had acute bronchitis, acute this, acute that, and they've always told me, hey, this is something that is an onset that comes along really quickly and you're not really prepared for it. So if somebody becomes a voyeur, let's see what it says. You probably know someone who does not miss a chance to catch an eyeful. From looking into windows of neighbors to openly oogling women at the gym to indulging in a steady diet of adult entertainment, some people are natural born voyeurs. You avoid these people when you can and keep your shade drawn at night if you have one on your block. Some neighborhood peeping toms might also psychologically examine, meet the clinical diagnosis of voyeuristic disorder. So it's not only something that is unhealthy, it's also a disorder because it's been placed in the DSM-5. So it's clinically something that is abnormal or maladaptive. Rebecca, would you agree with this? You are a nurse, so would you agree that voyeurism is a problem early on? I don't know if it really crosses into the nursing part, but would have you heard of anything like that? Carla, can you chime in if you want to on that? So let me continue to read here. It said, The Psychology of Prowling and Peeking. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, DSM 5, provide diagnostic criteria for voyeuristic disorder, 302.82. The first one requires recurrent and intense sexual arousal from observing an unsuspecting person who is naked in the process of disrobing or engaging in sexual activity, as manifested by fantasies, urges, or behaviors over a period of over 6 months. So this behavior has to go over 6 months, you know, 6 months. And usually the voyeurism occurs covertly, it's something that is being done without the individual knowing. The second criterion requires acting on such urges with a non consenting person that experience clinically significant distress or impairment in a social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning as a result of the sexual urges. The third criteria required that the person experiencing the requisite arousal or acting out experienced urges to at least be 18 years old, recognizing that sexual curiosity is common during adolescence and puberty. In terms of gender related diagnostic issues, voyeuristic disorder is described as more common in men than women. So there you have it. Yet individuals who do not meet the clinical definition may nonetheless act upon voyeuristic urges, engaging in intrusive, harmful, even criminal behavior. So let me break this down a little bit, okay? So if an individual starts looking in the window of the neighbor, okay, and just happened to do it one time, and that's it. They just, they were curious, not a big deal. But if it becomes habitually every night, and it even escalates to sneaking out, lying about their whereabouts, becoming something that's intrusive to other people, even breaking the law, then this is a problem because it meets three of the criteria that I just described. So when we're looking at adults that are voyeurs, it's no longer just an innocent peeping tom. It could be actually looking for a victim. So let's continue on. It says voyeurism as gateway behavior, invasion of privacy from visual to digital. For some privacy violators, strategizing a peep show is not good enough, capitalizing on the fact that every modern device now has a camera and drones are increasingly available as well. Many voyeurs seek to memorialize the unauthorized view. You know, reading that, I would have never in a million years, never in a million years, thought of a drone as a way to peep on somebody. How about you guys in chat? Would you have ever thought that? I mean, would that have crossed your mind if you wouldn't have heard me read it? Or have you heard about it in other situations? That just blew my mind. It just blew my mind just there. So it says spying on unsuspecting individuals in private areas ranging from dressing room to locker room to bedrooms is easier than ever before. Upskirting, for example, the act of snapping a photo up a woman's skirt without her consent has received much attention over the last several years as states struggle to identify and amend laws that address such behavior, demonstrating how technology can outpace the law in the digital age. Beyond invading the privacy of unsuspecting victims, some voyeurs also engage in sexual assault. Here we go. So they take it to the next level. Instead of just looking and stalking, that's just not enough for them. I'm sorry about that, Rondi. You said I have, and the guy arrested. I'm sorry about that. I'm glad that you got him arrested. Um, so let's continue on. It says from observation to assault. I do want to mention that there are sometimes in this channel, if you've never been here before, that there are some things spoken here that other channels don't speak about. It's open and I'm very graphic at times. So do understand that sometimes there is trigger warnings. I might forget to say that, but hopefully we're all adults in here and we can all take it. Okay. It says varieties of intrusion, exhibitionism, and voyeurism. Recognize that voyeurism requires objectification and a predatory in nature because it involves watching someone without the person's knowledge or consent. They also discuss research demonstrating a link between the voyeurism and the crime. They explain that a significant percentage of criminals who could commit sexual assaults report a history of voyeurism or exhibitionism. They note that overlapping sexual deviations coupled with an escalation in behavior lend support to a model of sexual addiction. There we go. Recognizing that such addiction usually involve multiple compulsive behaviors as opposed to only one type. Explain that there are convictions and clinical diagnosis for exhibitionism and voyeurism, likely due to the overt nature of exhibitionistic behavior. Convictions yield useful data for researchers who have been working for years to identify risk behaviors and warning behavior that could help predict how sexual proclivities might lead to sexual crime. So, let me tell you, when you're at the splash pad or you're at the pool, you have to be very mindful of your surrounding. This is a great comment right here. And I was going to get to this because I was watching a little bit of it earlier. It says, we see this in the cases against Stearns, Huberman, and Koberger. And yes, we heard of it. Drones are the newest tool they have. And that was the end of that comment. So, yeah, it escalates. It escalates from, and you don't even have to necessarily be the peeping Tom in the neighborhood. You could be one of these individuals that decide to use this deviant behavior while you're at work, while you're at the gym, while you're at a grocery store or Walmart or Target or anything like that. And use your digital camera or whatever to be a voyeur and to be able to take your reward home with you by a picture or video. Before it was usually just a mental image, but now you have the addition of cell phones and digital cameras that can fit right into your pocket. We have heard about these cases where stalking or voyeurism starts out and it leads to potential stalking. It said decades ago, researchers sought to compare the personality profiles of voyeurs and exhibitionists who also commit sexual assault with those who don't. In a study entitled Comparison to MMPI Profiles of Assaultive and Non-Assaultive Exhibitionists and Voyeurs, Moncrief and Pearson compared a subset sex offenders in a clinical unit who have also engaged in voyeuristic exhibitionist behavior in a group to had not committed sexual assault. They discovered that the two groups had different MMPI profiles. They concluded their study by suggesting that examining the MMPI profile of apprehended voyeurs and exhibitionists might help predict the likelihood of future sexually assaulted behavior. Said proceed with caution. Not all voyeurs engage in physical sexual assault, and many assaulters are not voyeuristic. Yet the concern that prudent invasion of privacy may lead to criminality at the developing body of research as the issue continues to be enormously relevant today. Well, that was quite interesting. And it came from Psychology Today. So if you want to go and reread the article, the individual that wrote it, her name is Wendy L. Patrick. She's a PhD and a behavioral analyst. So she's able to give a professional insight on the voyeurism. So, what do y'all think about that? I mean, chat. I want you to give me your your feedback right now before I start on this next section. What do y'all think about the voyeur? Have you ever caught a peeping tom? Um, have you ever dated somebody with a sexual addiction? Did you ever have you ever been married to someone with a sexual addiction? Did you ever have you ever been around somebody who has the tendency to constantly be checking out people, maybe not even of age, because all this goes in different spectrums. It's not just about adult checking out adult. This can also be, as sick as it is, adult checking out underage children. You know, yes. I think it's a warning, a prelude to a dark personality. I agree. Because think about it. Did y'all ever watch that movie, The Lovely Bones? And I know it's a movie, but that's one of my favorite movies. Um, and in that movie, if you haven't watched it, there was an individual that lived next door to these two girls, and he was constantly watching one of the girls behind the bushes, like he was cutting the bushes. He was friendly to them. He was doing all this stuff. And I'm not going to ruin the movie for you, but he ends up entrapping one of them. And that's all I'm going to tell you. It's called The Lovely Bones, and it's powerful. It has Mark Wahlberg in it, and it has some other actors in it, but it's really powerful. Rondi says the drone guy arrest wasn't me, but the guy checked out bathroom windows of a neighbor. Wow, I love it. Stephen King, the book is amazing. Okay, have to watch it. It's a very good show. I mean, it's kind of sad, but it gives you an insight on how voyeurism and stalking behavior and the urge, the opportunity, all the things that we talk about in true crime, how it manifested itself to this one crime. I think I've seen it before, but it was a long time ago. Yeah, it's an older movie, but it's one of my favorites. And I guess that's why it's a favorite, because it does manifest itself with a lot of different situations that we talk about in true crime. It does. The little girl's ghost help. Come on, no spoiler alert. All right, let's get to the next portion here. We're going to talk about 53 serial killer stalkers. And some of you might even know some of these. I was shocked when I read some of this stuff because it does break it down for you. And it's going to give you an insight on exactly what I'm talking about tonight. Okay? Um, I know, Aquarius, I'm just messing with you. Um, so let's go ahead and go with this. Let's see who number one is. Pedro Lopez, the monster of the Andes. Let's see what Pedro's about. It says Pedro Lopez was a Colombian serial killer and rapist known as the monster of the Andes. Lopez targeted young girls in Colombia, Ecuador between 1969 and 2002. He was arrested in 1980 and later convicted in 1983 of killing 110 young girls in Ecuador. Lopez confessed to killing at least 300 victims. In 1994, Lopez was released from an Ecuadorian prison. He was rearrested and sent to a Colombian psychiatric hospital. Lopez was released from the psychiatric hospital in 1998. In 2002, Lopez was suspected of the murder by Colombian authorities. That's intense. That's intense, guys. 110 young girls. 110. Wow. No wonder he's number one. Let's see what his profile. Okay, it says Lopez, a heterosexual pedophile male citizen of Colombia. Lopez completed 7 years of school, no degree received. Lopez never married. He had no children. Wow. Let's see who number two is. And like I said, there's some trigger warnings here, but I want you guys to understand that we're just talking about this to kind of give insight on what I'm talking about here. So if it gets too bad, I'll just click it off and we'll talk about something else. It says Ahmad Siraji, an Indonesian serial killer known as a sorcerer, Datuk Merinji and Dukan A.S. Siraji was convicted of strangling at least 42 women and girls in a series of ritual slayings he believed would give him magical powers. In order to achieve even more magical power, he drank the victim's saliva, having to reach a total of 70 victims before ascending into a Dukan, as foretold by a dead father in a dream. Some victims were even charged money in exchange for a magic ritual to be performed. Instead, Siraji would bury the victim up to their waist in a cornfield and strangle them with a cable. Once dead, Siraji would dig up the victim to undress and rebury the victim naked. He was executed by a firing squad in 2008. His profile says heterosexual male citizen of Indonesia. He married to 3 wives, all sisters. He had no children mentioned. Can you, hey, chat, let me ask you guys this. Is there, I mean, can you, in your wildest dreams, if I wouldn't be reading this, can you, in your wildest dreams, ever imagine that there was this kind of evil in the world? I know this guy is evil. I know his story, so a little bit, but I'm gonna read it anyways. I mean, just reading this, Rondi said so he was crazy as fuck. Yeah, pretty much. John Wayne Gacy, Pogo the Clown, the Killer Clown, active for 7 years, 1972 to 1978 in the U.S. John Wayne Gacy, an American serial killer and rapist known as Pogo the Clown. Gacy was known to have sexually assaulted, tortured, and murdered a minimum of 33 teenage boys and young men between 1972 and 78, 26 of whom he buried in the crawl space of his Chicago home. He was known as the Killer Clown due to him entertaining children at social events, dressed in a self-devised clown costume. While in prison, Gacy took up painting as a hobby as means of making money. The paint box used to create the art is on display at Alcatraz East Crime Museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. John Wayne Gacy was executed by lethal injection in 1994. So, John Wayne Gacy, Pogo the Clown. Have you guys heard of that person? Let's see what his profile says. John Wayne Gacy, a bisexual male citizen of the U.S. with religious ties or beliefs connected with the Catholic Church religion, organization, or belief system. He took an intelligence quotient test before or after his crime. John Wayne Gacy had an IQ of 118. He completed 12 years of school, received a GED. He gained part of his education while attending Northwestern College. He married Mary Lynn Myers on August 31st, 1964, married Carol Huff on July 1st, 1972. He had two children. I'm quite naive on IQ tests. If you guys can tell me a little bit, is 118 pretty high? Is that genius level? Carla says, I hate clowns. I didn't realize there were so many crazy in the world until I started watching true crime. Actually, I guess I did in small portion. 48 hours, 2020 Dateline. Yes. So 118 is genius level, right? Anything, I think 120 at the highest you can go. So this man had 118. So to say that serial killers are ignorant, you know, here's another one. I'm petrified of clowns. Aquarius, really? Oh, and yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. But think about it, guys. 118, 120 genius level. And here's a guy who entertained small children, teenage boys. If I remember correctly, he owned a business. And and that's where he would get his victims is he would hire young boys, and I'm not certain what kind of business it was. I think it was like maybe a construction business, maybe. So he would hire young boys and he would keep them in his cubbyhole at his house once he murdered them. I can't imagine. I can't imagine. What do you think about that one, guys? John Wayne Gacy. He's a popular one. You can see all his stuff on Hulu, Netflix. All the stuff like that. Let's see if we can get another one um, from around here. Let's do number 5. I don't really know number 4 that well. Let's do number 4 or 5. Adolfo Constanzo. I think I've heard of this guy. The Witch Doctor, El Padrino. Active for 4 years, 1986 to 1989, United States, Mexico. Adolfo Costanzo, Cuban American serial killer, drug dealer, and cult leader of the narco Satanists. Constanzo sexually assaulted and killed drug dealers and used their body parts for religious sacrifice ceremonies in an old warehouse near Matamoros. Many of his victims' body parts were cooked in a large pot called a ningaga. I remember this guy. I know why I remember him. Anybody, um, does anybody remember the Matamoros killings? Where there was a group of college kids that went across the border in Matamoros, Mexico. One of the college kids got picked up by a female and two guys. Um, he he got away from his college friends. Well, he went missing, and this is the guy who sacrificed him, and they found his body at a ranch, along with however many others buried on his ranch. And he had a cauldron, which what they're saying that he would bury their stuff in belief that I guess they call it La Santa Muerte or something, would protect them from being caught, being killed. So he constantly needed to feed the belief system there. His profile says Costanzo, a bisexual male citizen of the U.S. Costanzo completed 12 years of school, received a high school diploma. Costanzo was single. He had at least one, but many others. He had at least one, but maybe others, according to his mother. I don't know what that means, but okay. What do you think about that guy, guy? I mean, what do y'all think about him? Oh, what do y'all think about that? Your belief system says that if I pray to this Santa Muerte and sacrifice this to this idol, it's going to keep me safe. It's going to keep me without being caught, and this, that, and the other. That's why there's not one dimensional serial killers. We are saying they're crazy as F and they're nuts and stuff like this, but think about all the stuff you find out about these people after the fact. After the fact, we find out about these people and you're like, how in the hell did they go on for so long doing what they were doing? Let's talk about Robert Christian Hansen, the butcher baker. I'm scared to read this one, guys. I'm very afraid right now. Very afraid. The butcher baker. Hang in there with me. We got this. This guy was active for 13 years, 1971, the great year, to 1983 in the U.S. The butcher baker. Robert Christian Hansen, an American serial killer known as the Butcher Baker. Hansen kidnapped prostitutes, releasing them into the Alaska wilderness so Hansen could hunt them down like game animals. Rape, torture, and abduction were among his signatures. Based on discovered remains, police suspected him of 6 murders in addition to the 15 for which he was convicted. An aviation map with X marks was found hidden behind Hansen's headboard. Police later learned that X marks were locations of victims' bodies. A 2013 movie titled The Frozen Ground, starring Nicolas Cage and John Cusack, depicts an Alaskan state trooper seeking to apprehend Hansen by partnering with a young woman who escaped Hansen's clutches. I might need to go watch that movie. I've never even heard of it. The Frozen Ground. It looks pretty good. I like Nicolas Cage and John Cusack. I like them together in Con Air. Did y'all ever see that movie? Aquarius, you and Rondi are cracking me up. Um, think about that. Like he was hunting them down like game animals. He kidnapped the prostitutes and then released them into the wilderness so he could hunt them down like game animals. Wow. Let's see. Heather, how are you doing? Happy to see you in here. I know you guys know this one right here. Here's another one. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. He was only active for 2 years, 1984 to 1985 in the U.S., California. He had 13 confirmed victims, 20 possible victims. Mr. Ramirez was very methodical with his killings. He's a burglar and a rapist known as the Night Stalker. Ramirez killed 13 people between 1984 and 1985 in LA. Ramirez used a wide variety of weapons, including handguns, knives, a machete, a tire iron, and a hammer. Richard Ramirez was captured as a crowd of bystanders surrounded him, beat him, and held him until police arrived to arrest him. Ramirez was sentenced to death in 1989 and died of natural causes complication due to B-cell lymphoma on June 7, 2013, while still on death row at San Quentin. Let me tell you a little bit about Richard because I've seen multiple movies and things of that nature. Richard started his whole murderous career because he had an uncle that served in the Vietnam War. When his uncle came back from the war, he was at his uncle's house, and his uncle and his aunt got into a fight, which he awesome saw. You know, that was what he saw between these two people. Well, anyways, what happened is his uncle shot his aunt in front of him, and that set Richard on the path that he was meant to take, according to him. Richard Ramirez was a heterosexual male citizen to the U.S. of America. Ramirez completed 9 years of school, no degree received. Ramirez married, separated. He had no children. He had a medical condition of epilepsy. Prior to his spree, he had killed, committed crimes, and served time in jail. He was known to abuse alcohol and drugs. What Richard would do is he would, during this time, these 2 years, 1984 to 1985, Richard would, this summer was one of the hottest in LA. Okay. So many people were leaving their windows open so they could get a breeze going through there. So that was an easy way in for anybody looking to commit a burglary. What he would do is he would slide in, take out the lead person first. Whoever, if there was a male in the bed, he would shoot the male first. Take the big guy out. Take the male first. If it was just a female, then he would assault and then shoot the female. And then he would steal their belongings, jewelry, things of that nature. And he would, at times, even pose the bodies. I hope this next semester teaches me what that mannerism impels because I'm kind of curious. Um, because the guy in Florida, the Greenville Ripper, would do the same thing. He would position the bodies of the victims, in a sexual nature to kind of inhumanely depict them when they were found. So I hope that you know when I take that class next semester that I'm taught about that because I'm very curious about what that's all about. Um, so Richard never made it to the gas chamber. He died of natural causes or lymphoma. He never got to see the gas chamber. Well, let's talk about this guy, number 13 on the list, BTK. Bind, torture, kill. Give me a spoiler, chat. I want to know that you are paying attention here. How was BTK apprehended? There's a question for you. Anybody know? Anybody know? How was, without Googling it, I want you to tell me, how was BTK apprehended? How was he caught? Floppy disk? Okay. Can you incorporate that a little more? What did he do that got him caught? Heather says, writing to the cops. Okay, what was he writing? Specifics here. They pulled him over. Did you say and sent a dick in? What? My eyes are Heather. What the? He used the floppy disk. They had him on camera at Home Depot. Sent it to the cop's disk. My phone keeps autocorrecting that word. I guess you type that word a lot. That's why your phone is like, this is what we're going to put. Yes, he sent letter to police. You are all right. All right. So y'all know. I was like, what the hell did I just read? He used the computer in church. You're right. Yes. And he sent a disc in. All right. Gotcha. Gotcha. I was like, whoa, did I just see what I thought I saw? He wanted to be on TV. The disc still had some metadata on it that said Dennis and the church name. Yes. All right. Hey, typically unique. How y'all doing? Carlos and Kim, guys. I just had a convo about people not sending D pics and others on YouTube. Oh, okay. Gave him his own nickname. Dick pic guy. Oh my goodness. So let's find out about Dennis, okay? BTK killer, BTK strangler, bind, torture, kill. Active for 31 years, 1974 to 2004 in the US. Man, that's a lot of years to be killing. 10 confirmed victims, 10 possible victims. So they caught him, they got all the ones that they suspected him to have killed. It says Dennis Rader, an American serial killer known as BTK Killer and the BTK Strangler. Rader gave himself the name BTK, standing for Bind, Torture, Kill. He murdered 10 people in Sedgwick County in and around Wichita, Kansas between 1974 and 1991. During his spree, he sent letters to the police and newspapers describing the details of his crimes. In one letter, Rader demanded media attention for his crimes. In 2005, Rader was arrested near his home in Park City and accused of the BTK killings. He later confessed and was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms. Wow. As he was being pulled over, he flashed his badge, right, Heather? Oh, I meant to go on to one. That's not entirely true. They accused him of a couple more victims last year. He denied it. Okay. That maniac was married and a father. BTK killed four his first time, and it was an accident. They came back, and the kids. Okay. Okay, very good. I'd like to read what you guys are saying. We're a fucking bunch of in here. Has anyone watched Bundy's brother's interview? No, we have not. Maybe we need to. Have you shown it on your channel? Blame Rolo. Okay. No, he called Jeff and I respectable guilters last time I saw him. So I guess I'm a respectable guilter. You should. It's crazy. Well, we might do that. I might do that on one of my shows, or maybe you should do it on your channel. By the way, Twiz has a channel. So okay, why don't you do that? And I'll do that on the next live. By the way, Twiz, if you put your channel name on here, people can go to your page and subscribe. He has some good stuff so far. He doesn't have a lot on there yet, but the two that I've seen are very knowledgeable. So you guys be sure to go check him out. Twiz, go ahead and put your stuff on there, or one of the mods can do it for you. You can send it to one of the mods. So let's continue on Mr. Rader. He started killing at age 28, 29. Do we know somebody else who supposedly killed at 28, 29? There's a lot of them, right? Um, During his crimes as a serial killer, he was known to torture, strangle, stalk, and murder his victims. He was known to kill victims at his own home. He would keep personal items from the victim after the crime. He used a blindfold or similar method by covering the victim's eyes. At least one victim was tied, bound, or otherwise restrained during the crime. At the end of the crimes, he was living with his wife, Paula, in Park City, Kansas, where Rader was known to work as a serial killer. Okay. Agent Suganade Pravda Butcher. He was arrested on February 25th at age 59, convicted on August 18th, 2005 at age 60. So 10 life terms. Um, this dude's not going to make it the whole time, I wouldn't think. But just the simple way that he did that. Good night, Rebecca. Thank you for being in here. Um, Please come back anytime. So, think about that. Bind, torture, kill. That is something right there. To take the time and to actually do that in your own home. All right, Carla. If you happen to come back, come on back. Yeah, I understand that, Rebecca. I'm on call at the end of the month every month, so be careful out there. Thanks for your service and everything you do. Be careful. Come back and join us anytime. So think about that. To take these women to his home, bind, torture, and kill. Like you say, we can call him sick, we can call him whatever. Let's see what this guy's about. Henry Louis Wallace, the Taco Bell Strangler. But each one of them has a story to tell. This dude was active for 5 years, 1990 to 1994. And during 1990, we didn't have the internet. So maybe that's why a lot of these individuals that I'm talking about tonight, a lot of people don't know about them. Hey, Carla, I'm gonna detail the eyeball killer here in a minute. So if you could just be listening, I'm gonna detail the guy that you've told us about. um. Okay. He's, Rondi said he dressed up women's clothes and took pics of himself. You see on Dinkies, you're very knowledgeable. Okay. So yeah, we kind of have a celebrity amongst us in the Idaho 4 case. Twiz has been in the courtroom more than once, so we have a celebrity amongst us. Let's talk about the Taco Bell Strangler. What a moniker to have. 5 years. Henry Louis Wallace was an American serial killer and rapist known as the Taco Bell Strangler. Wallace confessed to the murders of 10 women in Charlotte, North Carolina. He would rape, strangle, or stab his victim prior to murdering them. Wallace was a supervisor at Taco Bell. Some of his victims were his employees. At Taco Bell in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1997, Wallace was convicted on 9 counts of murder and was sentenced to 9 death sentences. Henry Louis Wallace is awaiting execution at Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina. Let's read the profile on him. At 24-25, Henry Louis Wallace started his killing spree. During his crimes as a serial killer, he was known to rob, strangle, stalk, and rape and murder his victims. He was known to kill at the home of the victim. At the time of his crimes, he was living with himself alone in Charlotte, where he was known to work as a serial killer. He was arrested on March 13th, 1994. At 28, convicted. At age 31, sentenced to death. He was convicted and charged of murder and other possible charges during his lifetime. Henry Louis Wallace, a heterosexual male citizen of the U.S., he completed 14 years of school, attended some college, no degrees received. He married Moretta Brabham in 1985, married a former prison nurse, Rebecca Torrijas, in 1998. While in custody, he had at least one child. So while he was in custody, he married a former prison nurse. In case y'all don't know, that does happen. That does happen. Have y'all ever heard of that guy, the Taco Bell Strangler? I've never heard of him. So while he was incarcerated, he married the prison nurse. Well, let me take this down and let me quickly look up the eyeball killer. This is for Carla. Charles R. Bright. Okay, let's see here. There is the eyeball killer, Charles Albright. Let me put him up here. Okay, y'all see that? Let me put myself down at the bottom and make it bigger. It says, "See no evil." There he is, dressed all in his white garb. How did the perfect gentleman become a vicious murderer? For Charles Albright, it all began with an obsession with eyes. It says Charles Albright patiently waited behind an unbreakable glass wall, watching as the prison guards escorted me through three sets of steel barred doors. "I apologize for not being able to shake your hand and say hello," he said, formally raising as I approached his window in the visiting room. "They do not allow me to have face to face visits." Well, I wonder why, Charles. Wonder what. Wow. Yes, that's the eyeball killer. The steel doors charged or changed shut. Then the man who the Dallas police had called the coldest, most depraved killer of women in the city's history gave me a long, gentle stare. His dark, deep-set eyes never wavering, an encouraging half smile on his lips. At 59, he had a finely sculpted face and carefully groomed gray hair. Even in his prison uniform, he looked positively distinguished. "Ask me anything you want," he said. "I'm not going to tell you anything that's not true." Throughout his life, Albright had been described by many who knew him as the portrait of happiness, untroubled and troubling no one. He was, they said, a kind of Renaissance man, fluent in French and Spanish, a masterful painter, able to woo women by playing Chopin preludes on the piano or reciting poetry by Keats. It was simply impossible to believe that he could have viciously murdered three Dallas prostitutes in late 1990 and early 1991. The person who should have been arrested, Albright's friends and lawyers insisted, was Axton Swindler, a paranoid, fast talking truck driver who lived in one of Albright's rental homes. The evidence pointed to him, they claimed, not their beloved Charles Albright. Perhaps Albright was a touch eccentric, but he was certainly harmless. He was even squeamish when it came to violence. "You won't find any woman who'll say anything other than I was always a perfect gentleman in their presence," he said softly. Behind the glass wall, he wore an almost childlike expression. Weak and perplexed and yes, oddly appealing, I was always trying to do things for women. I would take their pictures, I would paint their portraits, I would give them little presents. I was always open for a lasting relationship. In most cases, serial killers are brutal, woefully uneducated young men, lifelong sadists who kill for their own twisted reasons. How then could someone so charming, so exceedingly polite, suddenly decide in the later years of his life to become a bloodthirsty sex monster? "Look, I've known Charlie for 30 years, sighed one of Albright's friends. a retired Baptist minister. And all that time, I think I would have seen his dark side slip out at least once. Believe me, if he really was a psychotic killer, he couldn't have kept it a secret this long. Could he? December 1994, Life Without Mother. He was known as the most good natured, eager to please of children, a precious boy who could do just about anything. Name all the constellations in the sky, catch snakes without getting bit, and even perform a tap dance routine on stage at at the famous Texas Theater. Charlie was like a Pied Piper to the rest of us kids. In 1933, when he was 3 weeks old, Charles was adopted by a dark haired woman, Dell Albright, and her husband, Fred, a Dallas grocer. The Albrights lived in an all white middle class neighborhood of Oak Cliff in a beautiful residential area across the river from downtown. Do any of y'all know where Oak Cliff is in Dallas? If you don't, look it up. Google map that, okay? Um, so let's move on to the later years because what we're getting so far is Charles never complained. Oh, let's start right here. Dell also introduced Charles to the world of taxidermy. When he was 11 years old, she enrolled him in a mail order course, the Northwestern School of Taxidermy, taught by Professor J.W. Elwood. You're beginning to learn an art that is second only to painting and sculpturing. A true taxidermist must be an artist. As Charles set to work on the dead birds he found, Dell was right beside him. She showed him how to use all the tools: the knife used to cut the skull, the little spoon used to scoop out the brain, the scalpel required to cut away the eyes from the socket, the forceps that pulled out the eyes. She even skinned the first bird for him, teaching him not to cut too deep. Dutifully, Charles spent hours in his taxidermy courses, stuffing and mounting his birds, making them look lifelike as possible. So let me stop right there really quickly, chat. Would you believe that Charles had the capability based on what I've based on what I've read so far? Yeah. Taxidermy like Dahmer. Dahmer was into taxidermy? I didn't know that. Maybe I need to watch the series again. I didn't know that. So here's the interesting part right here, okay? It said dutifully Charles spent hours on his taxidermy courses, stuffing and mounting his birds, making them look lifelike as possible. Then he would be ready for the crowning touch, the eyes. He used to go to taxidermy shop and stare at the boxes and boxes full of gloriously fake eyes, owl eyes, eagle eyes, deer eyes. He loved their indecent gleam. He wished he could collect them the way other boys collected marbles. Yet Dale wouldn't let him. Taxidermist eyes were too expensive. His frugal mother would say there was a better, cheaper way. She would open her sewing kit, look for exactly what she needed, and get to work. Then she and her son would place the birds in the oak china cabinet in front of the house. The birds had no eyes. Instead, sewn tightly against their delicate feathered faces were two dark buttons, each shimmering dully in the living room light. So there's Mr. Albright right there as a youngster. And then the person interviewing him asked, "You never knew a prostitute in Dallas?" He shook his head, baffled by the question. "Never. I knew absolutely none of them. At the time I was arrested, I couldn't tell you the names of the motels they stayed in, any of the motels' locations, or anything else. It is a crime that the police never put me on a lie detector to find out that I did know and what I didn't. Could the prostitutes possibly have seen you somewhere? None of the girls ever seen me. They never saw me drive slowly by like I wanted to pick somebody up. Believe me, if I had anything to do with any prostitutes in Dallas, I would tell you." His first victim, her name was Mary Pratt. She turned up She was a large woman, 156, naked except for a t-shirt and a bra, which had been pushed over her breasts. Her eyes were shut. Her face and chest were badly bruised. Apparently, the killer had thought it best to beat her before firing a 44 caliber bullet into her brain. And her eyeballs were taken. Second victim, or let's see. So there he was. He was very outgoing. He walked on at Arkansas State, made the football team. The interviewer asked, "Why do you think the eyeballs were missing?" "I don't understand either," he sighed. "Why the eyeballs?" "Well, that kind of a person would be able to cut out the eyeballs of some hooker. Someone who is sadistic. Just one mean son of a gun. I don't know the purpose behind it unless the person thought the women wouldn't be able to see without their eyes in the next world. We're just sort of ignorant." So you can read this article because we're getting high on time here. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Maybe I'll revisit it. It's called See No Evil by Texas Monthly. You can go and read the article. You can look up the videos on YouTube, and you can learn a little more about Mr. Albright. So, any of y'all have fascination with eyeballs? Anyone? Love Tina says, "Why stuff a bird if you don't have the eyes? Eyes are beautiful." Aquarius says, "Yes, Heather, that's actually a cool idea. I didn't know you could turn ashes into ink." I don't know what y'all are talking about here, but okay. Yeah, Dahmer's interest in making someone a zombie seemed to be created from his taxidermy exposure. Awesome. Awesome knowledge there. I watch a woman who uses the earth to make paint for her painting she does. It could be illegal, but no, the ashes in the ink is common in old school prison tats. She grinds stone, uses I don't dirt. I really don't see the part. Okay. Well, you guys are having an awesome conversation. I like that. Could y'all be a taxidermist? Twiddle says I have a thing for eyeballs. You're fine. You're fine. Tonight's kind of chill. We're just talking about this, but that's because I kind of destroyed mine, so it's not really a fan thing. Charles' mom might need some looking at. That's interesting. But he said he never knew any prostitutes. You know, he didn't ever visit to pick up any prostitutes. He never tried to solicit anything like that. Does that sound? I mean, you know, if his case was going on today, based on a little bit that I've read, where do you think the YouTube streets would be taking it? Do you think they'd find him guilty, or do you think that they would find him innocent? What do y'all think? I'm asking you guys if, yeah, I've heard that. I've seen that video. It's kind of weird. But you know how YouTube is. You find out something about somebody and instantly people jump on one side or the other. How many people do you think would jump to his defense to say, This man's innocent. He's proclaiming his innocence. He's proclaiming he never knew any prostitutes. He's he's proclaiming that another or other people are proclaiming that another dude fit the description a lot better. A guy he rented a trailer house with on his land. But my thing is, I don't know about you, but I've never dissected anybody's eyeballs. I can't imagine it's something that's easy to do. Something that is very easy to pull off. What do y'all think? You think it'd be easy to pull off? Supposedly on his third victim, hers were done in such a rush that there was cuts and bruises and all kinds of stuff. They even left the exacto knife. I don't know if y'all know what those are. Um, but they even left the exacto knife behind, but they still took the eyeballs. So there was three sets of eyeballs and three sets of different or three people without eyeballs that were killed in Oak Cliff. And they were all prostitutes. Yeah, I agree, Heather. Here's another question I have for you guys. Because we've kind of gone over this in some of the streams that I um in some of the other streams that I've talked about. What what man, I'm losing my train of thought with y'all. Um what is the fascination? Okay. Okay, that's cool, typically unique. What do you think the fascination is with prostitutes? These serial killers loved to kill prostitutes, and Eileen Warnos loved to kill Johns. So, what do you think the fascination is behind that? If you're going to be looking on the other side of the coin, do you have an educated, analytical response to that question? Oh my goodness, I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for these two comments right here. See no evil, hear no evil. And this one right here, I dated a guy with a glass eye. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. I can't see you. No, and here we go. I don't think it's necessarily a fascination. It's the most of the time cops don't look into it when they disappear. There's no connection other than a pickup. Okay. I think they're the easiest to get to. People are often not noticed when they're missing. Very good. Easy target. Yes, indeed. You are right on point right there. Because, how many times do people not take these missing cases seriously? How many times do these the police not take these missing cases seriously? They call them runaways if they're younger or they're in their early 20s. They call them runaways. They don't call them missing until they've been gone so many hours. And if an adult goes missing, it doesn't matter how much your family wants to file a missing persons report. It's hard. And they look into their line of work. Oh, that's just a prostitute. That's just a drug addict, just like Heather said. Drug addict, streetwalker. We, what, we'll get on it. Yeah, 18 and older. They're old enough to do and go where they want. Yeah. Y'all still going on that glass eye. Poor guy. At least you didn't dox him. At least you didn't name him Rondi. But I'm sure if he ever gets wind of this, he's going to know, man, she talked about me in one of those YouTube things. Does he still have the glass eye? Have you kept up with him? I just had to ask. Oh, she put his name out there. Chuck. Chuck with the glass eye. Here's another one. My friend had a glass eye and took it out for me. I had a teacher with a glass eye. Wow, it's more prominent than I even realized. Does it look like a marble? Does it look like a marble? I guess you could put a marble in there and get the same effects. I don't know. Oh my gosh, you can tell. You are killing me, man. You are killing me. I love it. I know a guy with a glass eye. It doesn't move. I know a guy with a glass eye lost in a car in the 90s. Eyes are actually flat on the back. Wow. Ronnie says it was big. The eyeball, right? It doesn't move. Wow. Now I'm curious. I want to see a glass eye. I want to see a glass eye in person. Oh my goodness. Rondi said it's hard to kiss him. It stayed open. Yep, they're like a ball. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I just had that visual of two people kissing. One person with their eyes. Oh God, their eyes still open while they're kissing. Hey baby, can you close your eye? Let me close your eye. Let me take your eye out for a minute while we make out. Oh man, if any of y'all have glass eyes that are watching, I'm not making fun of this. Please do not get offended. I'm just repeating what the chat is saying. So they're the ones that, let's see what my grandma had a glass eye. She lost it when she was 6 years old by getting jabbed by chicken coop wire. Okay, gotcha. With an eye open. Hey Ginger, thank you for joining us. I think I said Jesus Twiz. Oh my goodness. Y'all be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying the show. I know we've talked about, you know, stalking, voyeurism. We really didn't get into the stalking, but it kind of explained itself at the very beginning. You know, stalking is just as dangerous as voyeurism, and it goes and leads into different things. Um, it's always interesting how these things collaborate together, and they create sometimes an awful ending and an awful situation that starts out so innocently. Hey Nina, thank you for being here. We're talking at this point about glass eyes. If anybody's ever had a glass eye, if you've ever known somebody with a glass eye, Rondi was giving us the update on making out with her former boyfriend that had a glass eye, and she said it was difficult because the eye didn't close. So she's making out with a one-eyed man. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. Um, I wonder if you had, I mean, if you didn't have any, I mean, let's say you had eye issues or whatever, would you be vain enough to have two eyes, or would you just go with one eye? Let's say both your eyes were messed up or something. Would you be vain enough to wear shades all the time, or would you wear two glass eyes? Man, I'm scared at some of these answers, but I got to throw it out there. Yeah, let's hope, because I mean that's terrible. We need to be able to see. I know. Just think, we have to walk around with a patch. R. Then we'd have to learn how to do that R sound. I might rock without it, and mess with the people. I would just wear a patch on both eyes. I think I'd wear the shades. I'd wear the shades. I had to walk around with a patch after my surgery. I've had to wear a patch. Okay. No hate on this end, guys. No hate on this end. I think we've all had to wear a patch at one point in our lives. It's an awkward feeling. You got one eye covered and you're trying to see so hard through the other eye, you're just and that's what the optometrist, I guess they're called. He told me, because when I went to get my glasses last time, he said, if you have eye issues, one strong eye overcompensates for the other one. So, if you have a weaker eye, the other eye compensates for that weaker eye, and vice versa. Latina says, I would never wear a patch. I would fear I'd lose my glasses and someone would have to see me like that. So, guys, if you ever date a guy with a glass eye or a woman with a glass eye and you're making out with them, try to remember Rondi. If their eye doesn't shut, but don't laugh at them. Okay, just understand that they have to go. They have to do what they got to do. I can imagine. I can imagine you're going in for the kiss, and all of a sudden you're closing your eyes and you see that one eye wide open, staring off into space. So I get it. I get it. I'm glad that you shared that story with us. I mean, you don't hear this stuff every day. No peeking while smooching a glass-eyed person. He was really hot though. Okay. I wish I had a pic of my eye after surgery. That was wild. Not trying to get off topic here, but when I had a tooth pulled, I didn't realize how long the freaking tooth was. He pulled the tooth out. I shit you not. That tooth was at least that long. We have that in our molar, in our, mandible area. That tooth is that long. Wow, let's not go there. You have a wrench. You have a wrench. Yeah, the tooth r- root was huge. I mean, it was long. So um, typically Unique said I had dry socket, worst pain ever. Yeah, teeth pain is not any joking matter. I mean, it's painful. Even after you get the antibiotics, it's still you're still dreading. Am I going to fix this? Is it going to be able to be cleaned up? Is it going to, do I have to pull it? So I just decided to pull it. And I thought, well, it's going to be a little bitty hole right there. Hell no, it's this one right here. So you know how wide that tooth is. So after that, so you know how wide that tooth. Um, the tooth leaves that opening, and you have that in your mouth all the time. So I'm kind of running out of stuff to talk about as far as true crime. I'm just kind of BSing now. Um, you guys, once again, yeah, doctors say don't suck through straws. I wonder why that is. They say that can harm your teeth after you get a tooth pulled. Why is that? Why don't you suck through straws after you get your teeth pulled? Anybody want to answer that? Oh, the air. Okay. No, I'm not. I'm not getting on to any of the mods. I'm just saying that I'm still traumatized from the joke that was told on the live the other day when Typically Unique was on. It was the first time to meet him, and I had a guest on, and they told a dirty joke, and I was kind of like not expecting it. I should have been expecting it, but I wasn't, and it just caught me off guard. Typically Unique. I hope that didn't ruin your taste for the show at all. No, I'm not gonna go back and watch the live. It was the live on Brian Koberger, Guilt or Pro. Okay, that's good. That's good because it was pretty nasty. I didn't expect it, but I mean, it was pretty bad. um, well, the rest of you guys, once again, I'd like to say thank you. Please hit the like button and the subscribe button on your way out if you're not a subscriber. If you are a subscriber and you've already done both of those things, thank you so much for spending this Sunday evening with me. Um, I'm gonna call it a night. I'm gonna head to the gym probably or something like that. So you guys have a Rondi. Love you, Chuck. Oh man, you guys have an awesome Monday morning and try to carry it on to the week. If you didn't catch our show at my show at 12:30, you might go check that out. It's kind of calming and it's a good show to watch before bedtime. Um, you guys have an awesome night, and I'll catch you around soon. Take it easy, guys. Maestro, cue the music.